Hello and welcome. As we all know, economies are struggling, and anything that is working at this point of time is a startup ecosystem. Startups are actually proving to be the growth engines for many economies, and considering that Canada has created a special program called Startup Visa Program, and through immigration, Canada is looking to boost their economy in the near future. And in order to discuss this program, I've got two special guests with us. One is Mr. Stephen Green. He's the managing partner of Green and Spiegel, one of the leading immigration law firms in Canada. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we also have Stuart Browne. He's a seasoned venture capitalist, and he has a lot of experience in evaluating these startups and helping them grow in Canada. Stuart, a very warm welcome to you as well. Okay, let's straight away start the discussion. My first question is going to be for Stephen. Stephen, if you can let us know what are the priority sectors that Canada is looking at from the growth perspective. So when they are looking to invite startups, are there any sectors that they are focusing on which are going to boost the economy?
Well, the Startup Visa program was established in order to encourage knowledge-based businesses to come to Canada. So really the spectrum is wide open if you're involved in something that is innovative, creative, dealing with a knowledge-based industry, something like Uber, for example. The government wants to encourage those innovative companies to come to Canada and expand their footprint all across Canada. So the government is encouraging those types of businesses to come to start in Canada.
Okay, and why should a startup consider Canada? What are the opportunities that are on offer for these startups?
Well, the startup ecosystem in Canada is extremely robust. Toronto, where I'm come from, really is the sort of center point for artificial intelligence within the world. We have wonderful human capital. And what do I mean by that? One of the most difficult things for a startup is to get the skilled labor that they need. Well, in Toronto, for example, we have so many universities, we have so many people from all over the world that have brought their knowledge-based skills to Canada. So you've got a great resource of people to help you with your business. And the Startup Visa program is created to help startups as well. And Stuart will talk about what his incubator provides when a startup comes to Canada and how he can assist them in developing and really expanding their startup within the Canadian borders and then outside of the Canadian borders.
So, Stuart, actually, I'm coming to you with a similar question where Stephen talked about the availability of great human capital. What about the availability of capital to these startups from VC viewpoint? How do you look at that?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, there is a very vibrant entrepreneurial community within the Canadian economy. And with that comes a lot of support from government. Personally, I'm on the investment committee of an Ontario government-backed venture capital fund that has about 350 million in assets under management. And I've been with them for about 7 years. And within that time, I've seen millions and millions of dollars provided to early stage companies to help them take their business to the next level. But of course, in addition to that, there's a lot of private venture capital funds like the one I manage, PYCAP Venture Partners, and a lot of other institutions and banking opportunities as well to provide capital to companies that are innovative and creating opportunities for the Canadian economy from a GDP, job growth, but as well as technological development standpoint as well.
And also, if I could jump in, the startup visa program also encourages startup organizations and venture capital organization to put in money, capital into your startup if you come to Canada through that program.
Right. I think that's a good kickstart to any startup that actually comes up, because it is the fund is available right at the beginning. Now, Stephen, can you please articulate how this entire process works? What should a founder do if, so does a founder need to have a startup elsewhere in the world, and they should come up with a ready, working business to Canada? How does this whole thing work?
Well, I think it's important to understand the history of the startup visa program. It began approximately 7 years ago, where Canada looked around the world and saw what was going on in countries that were involved in knowledge-based businesses. They were looking at Silicon Valley, they were looking in India, and they were seeing how vibrant these businesses were. And they said, why don't we encourage those founders that have these innovative ideas to come to Canada, put a footprint in Canada, and then from that footprint expand internationally around the world. So they created this startup visa program where the government looked at these businesses and said to themselves, we're not real experts in determining if a startup is innovative, if it's creative, if it's going to be successful. So they looked outside the government to private organizations that are either venture capital organizations, startup organizations, or incubators. And they asked those organizations on the Canadian government's behalf to examine the startup that wants to come to Canada. And if that designated organization is of the opinion that the startup is a good one, it's innovative, it will create business within Canada, it will create economic success within Canada, then they will give you a letter of support. And with that letter of support, the founder can then apply for immigration to Canada. And the process takes approximately 18 months, give or take some. It's a little slower now with respect to COVID, but the government is looking at speeding it up, if we can use that language. So it's about an 18-month process. And if you want to come quicker than 18 months, the program also offers the founder and people involved in the startup with the ability to get a work permit to start their business right away, and their families are permitted to come with them while they're starting this great venture in Canada.
All right, I see. I think, and in fact, so one very important question that comes out of it is, and that question I'm directing towards Stuart, is that so PYCAP Venture would actually be evaluating these startups right at the beginning. So what is the filtering process? That how do you spot that whether a startup is good enough to be given your letter of support, Stuart?
Okay, well, we evaluate the companies within 3 different dimensions. First and foremost, because the startup visa requires innovation among the companies that come to Canada, we take a close look at what actual development the company has achieved. So what we're looking for is a prototype. It doesn't have to be a fully commercially ready product, but at least we want to see some sort of technological development. We use the term minimum viable product, whereby it's a stage of development where they could actually test it and demo it in a prototype kind of scenario. The second thing that we look for is market validation or traction. So the best form of market validation is revenue. So essentially, that's the entrepreneur proving that whatever he, she, they is creating there's actually demand out there in the market. But if the company is at an early stage, we're still okay to bring them into our incubator, but we still want to see some proof that they've actually tested the product with a sample set of their customer segment to prove that there is actual demand for it. The third thing that we look for is in relation to the team of the company. So we want to see that the people actually managing the company have domain expertise. So is their professional background a fit to the industry that they want to be operating in? So those are the main things that we look for.
All right. And Stephen, from government side, what are the factors that the government is looking for? I mean, I think as I understand, the initial filtering and everything is done, with the help of VC like PYCAP Ventures. And then the whole thing goes to the government for them to finally decide. So what is left to be decided, and how does the government take a call on that?
Well, the government, first of all, wants to make sure that there's a minimum language benchmark. So the people must be able to speak English or French at a particular benchmark. And the government also wants to make sure that this is not a passive investment, that the people involved in this startup are going to be actively involved in the management. And that really is one of the biggest tests that the government examines. You just can't come as part of a group, a founder that has a great idea, and say, oh, I'm giving the founder $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, have a good day. That won't work, and that will cause the application to be refused. It is an active type of application. It's, as Stuart says, an entrepreneurial application. So you must be involved in that. And if the Canadian government is not satisfied that you're really going to be operationally involved when this startup comes to Canada, then you may have great difficulty in getting your immigration approved by the government.
I see. Okay, and now, in fact, let me ask you another question. So there are different types of entry programs that are available. SUV program being one, then you have express entry and all of that. Is there any preference that is given to SUV program applicants or founders as compared to other programs?
Well, for the past year, the Express Entry program has been closed to anyone who applies under the skilled worker provisions in Express Entry. So, for example, if you were an Indian engineer working in Aman for an oil company, you would not have been selected. But if you were an engineer working in Aman and you had an innovative idea and you wanted to start this business, or you had this business running and you wanted to come through the SUV, you could at least qualify through that program, and it was still being processed by the government. So you have to really examine yourself as an applicant and say, what is the best category for me? Am I suited for the Express Entry? Do I have the right human capital characteristics that the government is looking for? Perhaps. Or do I have the right characteristics that the Canadian government is looking for in the startup visa program? So you really have to examine what program is best for you and then make that decision.
Okay, and once the entry happens, once the PR happens, what is the kind of support available? I mean, Stephen articulated that right at the beginning. He touched upon some of those areas, and I would request Stuart to kind of delve a little deeper into it to let us know what are the programs available to ensure that the founders are successful in running those programs.
Okay, so
the roles of incubator, the role of the government, and all of that. Yeah.
From an incubator standpoint, what generally incubators provide is office space, a community for entrepreneurs to get to know each other, and some mentorship. Of course, PYCAP is a little bit different because we're an actual venture capital firm. And with our involvement with the different universities in Canada, some of the top business schools, we have a lot more of an in-depth, structured approach to working with the companies. For example, we provide with some of the applicants that are approved the ability to access capital. We also provide a deep analysis to identify all the gaps and opportunities for growth within each company. And then we have the best industry leaders in venture capital, corporate finance, entrepreneurship, software development, law, accounting, et cetera, to work directly with each company to make sure that they surpass each one of the milestones that we laid out in our analysis exercise, and then put the company on a trajectory to hopefully grow 10 times its value from the point at which it started our incubator program.
Okay, and what are the factors that are contributing to to the growth and the success? I mean, in terms of the regulatory support and all of that, which are available in Canada. Are there, like, for example, tax holidays that are given to these people? What kind of support?
Well, that's an interesting point you bring up, because it is one of the factors that makes Canada a really attractive place for entrepreneurs to start and run their companies. Canada is one of the top ranking countries in the world for the venture capital and private equity attractiveness index. And the reason for that is because we have such a strong political system, a strong legal system here, and there's a ton of government support, because the government recognizes that the best way to grow an economy is through small and medium-sized enterprises, because they make up 70% of the jobs here and 40% of the gross domestic product. So from a regulatory standpoint, there is patent protection here to provide entrepreneurs with the incentive to actually create inventions, because they know that their intellectual property is going to be protected from maybe another company that could rip them off. And of course, the customers, the consumers, they have reassurance from a strong political and government system that their rights are going to be protected when they take the risk of engaging with a new company that has a new brand and new products to bring to the market. So holistically, having a strong political and government economy system in place is a good thing for everybody involved, and really helps push everyone's opportunities into the forefront.
Okay, that is such a great silver lining for all the startups that are looking to grow globally. Thank you so much, Stuart, for your insights on that. And I wanted to actually check with Stephen if you have any closing remarks on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the Startup Visa program is one of the most competitive programs in the world. I think with the tax credits available to entrepreneurs that come here and develop and research their businesses here within the startup program is very, very good. We are a multicultural society here in Toronto, where I come from. 52% of the Canadians that live here weren't born here. So it's an amazing family place as well. So with the wonderful economic support of the Canadian government, the business communities, and with the family support that exists in Canada, I really think we are a top country in the world to start your business.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for your time. Thanks, Stuart. I think it was a great discussion. I'm sure it is going to be extremely useful for a lot of startups. India, as you are aware, is a very vibrant country when it comes to the startup ecosystem. And I'm sure it is going to be very, very useful discussion for all of them. Look forward to connecting with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.